Good morning. Good morning. Hey, thank you so much, Brian, for that amazing introduction and just being a friend you have over the last few years. It's amazing. And thank you so much, Ringo Fire, for having me back here again. It's amazing to see the things that you guys are doing up here. But I don't want to take a lot of time, but just want to tell you a little bit about my background as far as me starting out in this field and how this community has blessed me. I mean, I've truly been blessed by this community over 25 years ago when I started here. I started with a company called Red Devil, caulking adhesives, and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about the industry, but I knew I enjoyed it. The only problem was that they was under a line review when I started, so I didn't get a chance to work with them about 6 months. But I was able to maneuver my way around this community and finally found a home with a company here in South Carolina called TTI. Now, when I started, again, I didn't know what I was doing. The hiring manager, she said, hey, meet this guy at this store in Fayetteville. So I'm a pretty early guy. I get up pretty early, get to the store before the crack of dawn, and this rep was already in the store. I turned the corner to the garden department, and he was up on one of those 16-foot ladders, and his feet dangling from the overhead as he downstock product, and I was like, man, this is I don't know if I want to do this. This is kind of crazy. This guy's crazy. So he walked down just briskly to me. I shook my hand, I held my hand out. He said, hey, I'm Don Williams. I said, I'm Kevin Williams. And right then, I knew the relationship was just exploding. And that's the thing that I like about right here. It's the relationships. Don and I didn't have anything in common. I'm this big, tall, black guy. He's this little, short, white guy. When I enter into a room, you will see me first, but Don, you will hear him first. I'm kind of quiet and just kind of reserved. Don is just intense. Two different people from two other sides of the spectrum, but we had one thing in common. We respected one another. And I knew that was the thing that's going to get me from point A to point B, is that you got to genuinely have respect for one another. You don't know them. You don't know what background they're from. All you know is you got one thing in common. Other than our last name, Don and I had one thing in common, is that we had respect for one another. And that respect turned into trust, and that trust turned into these shared experiences that we had. And that time period with those guys and on the ground level, that was one of the most amazing times in my life. If I had a jar and bottle that up, I would bottle that experience up because it was that special, but it was those relationships. Then equipping. I started this company, Power Forward. The concept was in a Taco Mac in Austell, Georgia. Mark Hartman, he's here today, and I'm so glad I saw him. I was going to let you guys know, if you saw me aggressively hugging somebody, I'm not violent. I was just hugging Mark because I love him so much and I appreciate him. But Mark, and I had this concept of teaching boys leadership skills, and I needed a niche, and that niche was power tools. And I told Mark, I said, hey, if I start this program, will you help me? And he said, yes. A simple yes has changed my life. Let me be for real now. This is Mark we're talking about. If you know Mark back then, I don't know if he's the same way today, but there was probably a 4-letter word in front of that 3-letter word, or a 4-letter word after that 3-letter word. Or knowing Mark, it was a 3-letter word sandwiched in between two 4-letter words. But he said yes. And that yes just equipped me with the Power Forward leadership program that I'm at today. I wouldn't be here on this platform in this capacity if it had not been for Mark Hartman. So he's back there waving his hand. Give him a high five when you see him. But the thing he did, he added value to me. He equipped me. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. He served me when I didn't have the opportunity or the position to serve him, and he saw value in me, and he added so much value to me, and that's what Mark did for me in this community. Amen. This community, again, it's been so great, and I've had the opportunity not only to have great relationships and great people who equip me, but to see awesome leaders. Mike Farrell, I don't know if he's here today. Mike Farrell is one of the greatest leaders that I worked with and had the opportunity to serve with, because Mike did a few things. Mike was this high, imposing figure of a man. He was stoic when he walked into a room, and he seemed unapproachable. But when you spoke to Mike, he was this type of leader that he would draw you in. He would tell you stories about home improvement origins and his background with his father, and he just made you feel like you were just a part of this amazing story. But one day we had this presentation skill. We were doing these leadership development things, and one thing was presentations. And if you guys are like me, when you have to learn how to present, videotape yourself, watch yourself back, have your peers there critiquing you with the ums and ahs and all these verbal tics, man, that makes you nervous. Mike was a speaker. I've seen him plenty of times, but this particular time at a conference, he wasn't so great. He was nervous, and we could tell that he's overthinking it because he wasn't the dynamic man that we've always seen. But the thing I saw about Mike's leadership was he didn't complain. He didn't make excuses. He dug in. He got more coaching. He got practice more. And the next time we saw him, he was this great dynamic speaker of a man and leader that we knew him to be. I saw a few things in Mike. Number one, he was authentic. One thing I've learned about leaders, sometimes they walk this line. If they're too vulnerable, they think they lose credibility. And if they don't show any vulnerability, they seem phony. So Mike, he was authentic. He allowed us to see his vulnerability and how to walk through that as young leaders. Number two, self-management, I would say. He had these character guardrails up that even though he messed up and had a mishap, he had these guardrails up that if he swayed left, he kept it center. He didn't let that one little mishap guide him and derail him from his purpose and his dreams. So that was another thing I saw for him. The next thing was humility. He allowed us to see the human side. And lastly, it was just courage. To step somewhere that you've never been and having people behind you saying, let's go, is scary. But he had enough courage to just step out there on faith to lead this young team. And that was leadership. So far, I've given you the acronyms, except for the last letter, of how to be a real success. R, relationships. E, equipping. A, attitude. And 4, leadership. I know how to spell now. I know I'm saving the A for last. The A is for attitude. Attitude is the difference maker. Attitude is that thing that, let's say if it was an airplane. If your attitude is pointing up, you're going somewhere. If it's pointed down, you're headed for a crash. And there's no person that I can remember like our host, Brian Stearns, who always had his attitude point up. You knew he was going somewhere. And again, I told him this is so amazing to see Ringo Fire and some of the things he's done. But Brian started with me in 2008. I was a manager in Atlanta. And the thing was, I had a lot going against me at that time. I was a manager in Atlanta, first time managing people at this young age. Atlanta was a hot box. We were putting out power tools like it was something else. I mean, we had to make sure that we had proper store placement. I had 10 reps that were straight out of college. So it wasn't that I was teaching them the business and how to maneuver in this business. And Brian just had such a great attitude. Brian wrote me a letter one day, an email. And the thing was, he didn't know what I was going through at that time. All he knew was I showed up at work with a great attitude. Brian didn't know that, a year prior that I had lost a house, and we was trying to get our finances back together. Brian didn't know that I had just took in 2 boys who was on the street. My wife and I had 3 kids already, and we was pretty guarded. But these 2 boys on the street, and we was like, we don't know, because we don't want that outside things that they know in the street to come in our house. I had parents say, don't take these boys in. They're going to bring your house trouble. We took them in anyway. And with that, getting them adjusted to our life. My wife earlier was diagnosed with lupus. So we had a lot going on during that time I met Brian. So Brian sent me an email, and I printed the email was so inspirational and motivational to me. I printed it off, laminated it, and hung it on my wall. And that was in 2008. I want to share it with you. It says, Kevin, subject just a thank you. Kevin, let me first start by saying this email is sincere and not an attempt for brownie points. Typical Brian. You honestly have been an awesome mentor over the past 2 months, and I just want to take the time to thank you. Life can be a constant roller coaster with its ups and downs and fast falls with slow climbs. But true friends, teamwork, and a strong leadership are what help us navigate through that. We all have tough days on the job. I know I have. But working with you today really shed light on how great I have it and how awesome this job is. One of my role models, the legendary basketball coach Jimmy V, once said, to truly live a full day, you need to share laughter, take time for personal reflection, and make a positive impact on someone else's life. My father echoed these words to me growing up, and they have always been posted on my wall through college and even now. I can see this email getting really cheesy really fast, but I'm just trying to make a point in so many words. I know you have a lot on your plate, and though some things may go unnoticed, you are a really cool manager, mentor, and friend. You motivate myself and the other teammates to become better, and I can see that happening. I hope your wife and kids realize that what a great father they have. So thank you again, and remember, don't ever play on railroad tracks. You might end up losing both your legs like your friend in Hiram. Take care, Brian. Wasn't that great? That was in 2008, and that email had meant so much to me over the years. So I ran into Brian in 2021 in Kentucky, and I shared with him how I still had this email, how it was on my wall, and I sent him a copy of it. And here's his response, and this is in 2021. Wow, Kevin, this brought some tears to my eyes, and a smile, of course. I remember why I went home and wrote this. I was fresh out of college and slowly starting to enter the real world of responsibilities, bills, a job, etc. It was all so new for me after spending 5 years living it up in college. I don't think I was ready for the real world. Those first few weeks as a field rep were challenging for me. Your leadership style really helped. I admire how much you care for and supported your family at home, but also your family of 10+ field sales reps. You were able to balance work-life from what it appeared and always seemed to have good days. I remember back to those days in the stores often. I really do not say thank you enough. That email, 13 years old, is as true today as ever. I cannot imagine the impact you've had on probably hundreds of kids, co-workers, etc. Wouldn't it be cool if we worked together again one day? Anything can happen. Looking forward to chatting with you soon. Oh, the Hiram fella. I think he was a crackhead in the store harassing us at a demo for some reason. He had no legs, and we must have attributed to him playing on the railroad tracks too much as a kid. Hope he's doing well these days. We should put up to Hiram sometime to check on him. But it was that attitude that got me through a whole lot of things. And it's that attitude that allowed me to persevere through challenges I had in this community. It allowed me to garner great relationships in this community. It allowed me to live out my dreams in this community. And I attribute it to 4 simple words that I want to share with you that my mom shared with me from the time I was born to the time she passed in 2017. These 4 words that she shared allowed me to garner great relationship that I've seen here today over 20+ years. It equipped me to live this life, to be able to maneuver through all these different challenges. It allowed me to see different leaders and how to lead and how to effectively care for people. And these little 4 words that my mom taught me, a lady who didn't have a lot in life, a lady who didn't graduate high school, a lady who worked hard all her life, a lady who was abused, a lady who could have been bitter at the world. But these 4 things she told me as a kid set the foundation. And I didn't know it as much now until when Brian called me and asked me to be here to share. These 4 words that she imparted in me that I want to share with you has been a guide for my life. And they're so simple, coming from such a simple lady. She would pull me to the side and she would just say these words: Kevin, just treat people right. That's it. Just treat people right. And I know sometimes, like Brian said, we may be on one side of the aisle or the other. We may be in one economic place or the other. We may be different race or whatever it may be, but it's one thing that we can all have in common, and that is to just treat people right. That's the main goal. Just treat people right. So today at Huddle House, I'm wrapping up. But just promise me, I won't see some of you never again. I may see some of you guys tomorrow, but just do one favor. It don't matter who it is, your neighbor, your competitor, whatever it is, but just today, just promise, just treat people right. And I promise you that you will have a great life, because we need each other more now than ever before. So just treat people right. Thank you guys so much.